Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet then next week. T&Cs apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Hello and welcome to Punchestown Racecourse, and you join us here in the presidential suite, which is entirely appropriate given the quality of the panel. Joining myself, Lee Mottershead, here for our preview of day 2. We have Tony O'Hare, David Jennings, and from our sponsors, Paddy Power, Mr. Tom Nugent. And we start the day with a very simple task, which is the Adair Manor Opportunity Series final handicap hurdle. 25 runners, 3 reserves. Tony, simples.
Yeah, really simple. The one I like is Press Conference of Jessica Harrington's. Hasn't run since winning at Limerick at Christmas, but I think he's near the top of the weights, but I think he could be reasonably well handicapped. Sean O'Keefe rides him, and he'd be my pick. Duke de Beauchesne and David Pipes, Bay Hill be 2 others I'd give a mention to, but Press Conference would be my idea of the winner.
So DJ, this is your bread and butter type fare. You eat these up.
Yeah, I can see where Tony is coming from with Press Conference, who beat Animix, who was a one-time favourite for the Supreme Novice Hurdle. But the one I was praying would get declared for this race, and it has got declared, is number 8, Rock the Bomb, for JP McManus, John Kiley and Dara O'Keefe. This finished 5th in the Pertemps qualifier at Leopardstown, and if you remember, the horse that finished 6th was...
The horse that finished 6th was, remind me?
It was Sire de Burleigh, who won the Pertemps final at Cheltenham. Rock the Bomb was real eye-catching. Like, everybody was drawn to Sire de Burleigh, who started such a short prize favourite for the Pertemps. But I actually thought Rock the Bomb was equally eye-catching. Stayed on quite nicely there after getting a little bit of trouble. It's off the same mark of 121. And in this race, you need to be on one of the better jockeys in the race. And I think Dara O'Keefe is very, very good. He gets to claim 4. I would imagine after Leopardstown, John Kiley said to himself, this is the perfect race for Rock the Bomb. And I think he will be banging the mix. He should be a decent price as well.
And he was eye-catching at Leopardstown in the same way that Sire de Burleigh was eye-catching at Leopardstown. Yeah,
I thought they were both, like, your eye was drawn to the green and gold in that race every year, and both of them kind of turned for home, and you kind of sensed that if there was a little bit more, that might have just got close to the winner that day. But I think he's well handicapped anyway.
Viewers, listeners, read between the lines. Tom?
Didn't have a massive opinion until DJ went on a solo run there, but I was just checking. I thought Musical Slave had an interesting profile. He won a Ludlow handicap very handily off of 118 the last. I think he's gone up 4 pounds. He's 121 now. And John Joe O'Neill Jr. is booked to ride. An interesting profile, an interesting horse. So I think Musical Slave could be interesting in the opener.
Yeah, of course, that's one day before Philip Hobbs runs Défi de Soy in the 2-mile novice chase on Thursday. Second race on day 2 is the Connelly's Red Mills Irish EBF Auction Hurdle Series final. 2.5 miles. Tom, we'll start with this time.
It's a decent little race. There's a couple that are quite good. Emmett Mullins has 0-10, who could be at the top of the market. We're not priced up yet. The Holy One had some decent bumper form last year. The one I liked is the Big Dog. He won a maiden hurdle in Goran quite well the last day. Now, it wasn't quite up to it the last day in Leopardstown in a Grade 1. He finished 9th that day, but I think he could be interested back in a race like this. So the Big Dog for me here.
The Big Dog for Tom, for David.
I thought this was very straightforward. I thought 0-10 would win. It's funny, 0-10 was just beaten by a French name belonging to Henry de Bromhead, which is Dommage Pertois, in a Grade 2 at Fairyhouse. And if he had won that race, he wouldn't have been eligible for this race, which I thought was interesting, because this seemed the ideal target, because there's 44 grand to the winner. I think he's a rapidly improving hurdler. He probably should have won last time. In that way, he was a little bit disappointed, but he's rated 139. He's the highest rated horse in the race. I think he could even be better than that. I think he's a proper graded performer, and although he's got top weight, I'd say he'd be very hard to beat. He'd be quite short.
Tony, we've had votes for the Big Dog and 0 top. 10. I beg your pardon. Yeah. 0-10.
Yeah, I'd be a 0-10 fan. His jumping was a little bit sloppy over the last couple in Fairyhouse last time, but I know that Emmett Mullins thinks an awful lot of him. He'd won his previous start by 13 lengths at Leopardstown, having won his maiden at Galway early in the season. The Holy One won nicely at Fairyhouse at Easter, but I think 0-10 could be a cut above these.
Okay. One of the beauties of this festival is so much variety in the races, and the third race on the Wednesday, the Louis Fitzgerald Hurdle, is for 4-year-olds plus that have not won more than one hurdle. Who wins this one?
I'm very sweet on Paloma Blue. He didn't set the world alight over fences this season, but he had some very smart form as a novice last year. He was fourth in the Supreme Novices at Cheltenham. He was placed in another graded race. And I think back over hurdles, I think he's got a huge chance.
David, looks like a neat bit of place in this from de Bromhead.
Yeah, I know Tony O'Hare a long time, probably longer than he would want. And it's very rare that Tony is so sweet on a horse, which makes me kind of question my tip here. Paloma Blue is one of the horses that I have gone over the cliff with. Look, I can see Tony's point. Back over hurdles, he's not a good jumper. And back over hurdles, offences, yeah. And I thought he was the ideal Arkle candidate this year. I even thought he had a chance in the race. He started a single figure price. He actually didn't jump that poorly. He was just slow and just needs to be slicker for the Arkle. He's got a chance here, obviously with his rating 148. He's the standout on ratings. But the one I always thought would be better than a race of this nature is Vision Adair, who was disappointing in the Supreme. But he was disappointing in the Supreme, but his race was over at the start, I thought. I thought he sweated up. I didn't think he looked that well. He just didn't travel over that nicely. And he's held in very high regard. The ground will be perfect for him here. And the fact that he's stepping up to 2.5 miles might actually help, because it let him get into a little bit of a rhythm. Everything just happened a little bit too quick for him in the Supreme. I still think he's a very good horse. I still think they think he's a very good horse. And I'm hoping class will prevail here with Vision Adair.
Tom, DJ has gone against TOH's really confident selection. Are you doing that?
I have big respect, though. Big respect.
He has big respect.
If you were to ask me between the two who I trust more, I think it'd be probably I'd go with Tony to look after me a little bit better than David Jones.
Thanks, Tom.
He hasn't let me down yet, but it'll be an interesting punting race. We're not priced up yet, but the likes of, there's a horse there, Crack Tiepi, who made his Irish debut she made her Irish debut for Willie Mullins in Wexford. She'll be over bet. I'd say Crack Mo might be over bet as well. So if you want to have a bet on the likes of Paloma Blue, I'd say you might get a decent price closer to post time.
Great news for Tony. Decent price.
Splendid. I'll sleep well tonight.
This is good news for us all. The first Grade 1 on Wednesday is the Irish Daily Mirror Novices Hurdle. It brings together the first three from the Albert Bartlett at the Cheltenham Festival. Tom, how do you price the race up?
Yeah, we're 9-4 Manila Indo at the top, Allaho next in 3-1, 9-2 Carefully Selected, 5-1 Commander Fleet, and 12-1 A Bigger the Rest.
And have the other compilers got it right?
I'd say they're probably just going to go in with the fact that people will come for the Albert Bartlett form and will be quite happy to take all that money. I'd say if one of the others comes from out the market to do them, we'll be absolutely delighted. Punchestown, as a rule, is quite a good festival to be a bookmaker, so we'll let it ride.
Okay. DJ, is it going to be simple for Manila Indo? He was so impressive at Cheltenham.
He was, and the fact that he was so keen and still had so much left in the tank. But I just questioned that race every year. It just is not a race to trust. I thought I was being really, really, really clever last week by backing Carefully Selected at 9-2, telling everybody that he'd start about 5-2, and then obviously Ruby rides Allaho, and now he's 9-2 at Paddy Power and bigger elsewhere. I think he still is the most likely winner. I think the ground is perfect for him. I thought he won quite snug at Limerick. I know it was only a short margin he won by, but I thought he was always getting on top. It was just after the Cheltenham Festival. His champion bumper form from last year is pretty good. I think he's a stayer with a big future. I think this time next year we'll be talking about him as an RSA candidate. I was absolutely thrilled to get 9-2 last week, and he's still 9-2. I think people should take that.
9-2 tip then from DJ. Tony, is the Cheltenham form the place to go?
I think it probably is. Just going back to Carefully Selected, the one thing I'd have against him is his lack of experience, basically. He just had the one run and the win. The three that ran in the Albert Bartlett, Manila Indo, I think he'll beat Allaho anyway. I think Commander Fleet might be a bigger danger, but when all is said and done, Manila Indo looks to be the one they have to beat.
Yep, sure does. And that brings up part one of this podcast. When we return, we're on to the big race of the day.
Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log into your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18+ begambleaware.org.
Welcome back to the Presidential Suite here at Punchestown Racecourse, and joining myself, Lee Mottershead, we have Tony O'Hare, David Jennings, and from Paddy Power, Tom Nugent. And we're now going to look at the big race of the day, and indeed the flagship race of the festival, the Coral Punchestown Gold Cup. A fascinating clash between the Cheltenham Gold Cup winner, Album Photo, ridden again by Paul Townend, and his Willie Mullins trained stable companion Ken Boy, who was so imperious at Aintree at the Grand National Festival, and their stablemate Bells Hill in a really intriguing running of this race. Tom Nugent, a hard one to price up.
Yeah, very tricky. Kenboy 11-8 favourite with us at the moment. Album Photo next in at 7-4. Bells Hill 4-1, and it's 15-2 and bigger the rest.
And so why do you think the odds compilers have gone with the Aintree winner over the Blue Ribbon winner?
I'm not 100% certain. There's only £1 between them on rating, so I'd say possibly just visually. I know a couple of the traders were very, very impressed by Kenboy and Aintree, and just with only £1 between them, you can take a chance over that 3 miles. In my mind, though, I still think if you were to take Cheltenham out of the equation, for even though the ratings don't say so, I'd still have Bells Hill as the best of them.
I love it.
As the best horse between the three of them, and 4-1 I think is more than fair. So if I was to have a bet in the race now, I think I'd be back in Bells Hill.
It's interesting that David, when you spoke to Ruby.
Wish I was Ruby.
Yeah, well, no. He probably thinks the same about you.
No, he doesn't.
When you spoke to him for the front page piece in the Post the other day, I thought it was interesting how he talking about the Gold Cup choice. He said something along the lines of he had no hesitation on that occasion picking Bells Hill. Do you think he's just being sort of PR-wise? They're talking PR, or do you think he really does rate Bells Hill still that highly?
No, I know a lot of people close to him in the lead up to Cheltenham were always convinced he would ride Bells Hill. There was maybe, people would think it was a close choice, but reading between the lines, he was always going to ride Bells Hill. Bells Hill made a desperate mistake at the third fence. Now, I mean desperate, and I actually think he was feeling the effects of his race at Leopardstown on quick ground when he won the Irish Gold Cup. I thought I just thought when he was jumping, he wasn't landing running. I thought he was still feeling the effects of the hard ground that day. It was obviously a bitterly disappointing display, but it was a very short display, and he was pulled up very early in the race. There was over a circuit to go, and he was gone. That should stand to him. Look, the way it is with Album Photo and Kenboy is, I wouldn't be surprised if either of them beat each other, if you know what I mean. And they're priced accordingly. They're 11-8 and 7-4. I would have slight preference for Kenboy because I thought he was exceptional at Aintree. The funny thing is, I watched the Cheltenham Gold Cup back last night, and one of the things that surprised me, while Album Photo got around well and got into a good rhythm, his jumping wasn't brilliant. If you watch it back, I was surprised because at the time I said, oh my God, it was a brilliant jumping display. Yeah. He has a kind of a funny way of getting over his fences. He doesn't lose any ground, doesn't get that high, and he's a kind of, even at the third last, he made a little bit of a mistake. He kind of guessed, if you remember, at the second last. I think he's a very good horse. I think Kenboy might be slightly better than him, but won this race last year, Bells Hill. He's a little bit fresher than the other two. I thought 6-1 a couple of days ago was very, very fair each way. Would I be shocked if one of his stablemates beat him? But he's 3-4 times the price, so I think Bells Hill has to be the value here.
Tony, are you expecting Ruby to try and dictate the race from the front again on Kenboy?
You wouldn't know what to expect. He was very good on him at Aintree. I agree. I think Kenboy is possibly a bit better than Album Photo. Bells Hill is a different horse away from Cheltenham. I think he won this race last year, and it was that victory that pointed him in the direction of training him for the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Kenboy, he's had a light enough season, like he didn't run from his win at Christmas until Cheltenham, and he fluffed his way out of it at the first fence, so he's relatively fresh. So too is Album Photo, like he'd won at Tremor before he went to the Gold Cup. But of the three of them, and it does look like the Willie Mullins show, like it's very hard to make a case for anything else to beat them. I think Kenboy will probably come out on top.
Okay, Kenboy then is the balanced selection. Does anybody else?
What do you like?
I'd be with Album Photo,
okay.
But I would worry if it turns into a speed race. I think Kenboy at Leopardstown and then at Aintree look the quicker horse. So that's why I think if Ruby can dictate it and just use that pace that Kenboy's got. I mean, from the final fence at Leopardstown when he won the race there, he was incredibly quick.
I'd imagine definitely Red will make the run, and so I'd imagine it will turn into a bit of a test.
Where are all the English horses, by the way? Apart from definitely Red in this race.
They're just not good enough.
Well, of course, he's only there because he couldn't run at Sandown on Saturday as well. And the problem is the Mullins and Elliott yards are so deep that if they're beating the Brits at Punchestown, at Cheltenham, there's very little incentive for the Brits to come to Punchestown.
We didn't go to Aintree either.
No.
There was very few Irish runners. I know Kenby won and Min won, but there was very few other trainers that tackled Aintree.
Yeah, and this is a race definitely that doesn't really need the Brits. It's such a strong race.
This is probably the highlight of the season.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Although probably not as fantastic as the Racing Post-sponsored champion Irish National Hunt. Smile there from Tony O'Hare. Champion Irish National Hunt Flat Race, the biggest bumper of the season in Ireland. But Tony, perhaps not a vintage edition, albeit with vintage sponsorship.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, Willie Mullins has 3 in the race. I think Patrick rides Mount Leinster. Yeah. He's also got Golden Spread in the race, and Colreevy. Colreevy's interesting. Won the Mayor's Bumper at this meeting last year, and was off the course until the recent Fairyhouse Easter Festival. Ran quite respectable there. Finished 3rd. Jamie Codd rides. I think she could possibly be the value in the race.
Okay. DJ, views on the bumper.
Beacon Edge, Lee. Beacon Edge for me. Won a bumper for Nicky Richards before being bought by Gigginstown. The second from that bumper there won next time. I just think with Beacon Edge, if you go back to the run against Envoy Allen during the Dublin Racing Festival at Leopardstown, he was the real eye catcher. He was held up out the back. It was a real education. Loved the way he came home up the home straight. The vibes I'm getting from the Noel Mead yard are that this horse is working supremely well. If you read the Monday Jury with Noel Mead, this was the horse he put up as his best chance of a winner this week. I think he could be a very, very good horse, and I think we're only going to see the best of him here. I think the big danger is Santa Rossa, the filly for Dermot McLaughlin and Finney Maguire. Just too keen at Aintree in what was a good mare's bumper. Just probably lost his chance, or he actually ran in the Geldings bumper, sorry. Just probably lost his chance by being a little bit too keen. The form of that race is pretty solid. If she does settle a bit better here, Santa Rossa, she'll be a big danger to Beacon Edge. But I think Beacon Edge is going to turn out to be a Grade 1 horse.
Tom, DJ said Beacon Edge with such enthusiasm. Can you give your selection similar gusto?
I can't. I'm trying to unpick it. I've seen Abracadabra tipped up everywhere I look, and Beacon Edge has been very well touted as well. If you're to look at the Mullins horses, I say Colreevy is in it purely to dodge Gypsy Island. Santa Rossa has always been here. Patrick couldn't hold Mount Leinster is ridiculously keen. Patrick did his best to try and hold on to him, but he's just ridiculously keen. But it's interesting that he sticks with him after being beaten by Golden Spread the last day. They think he's quite a nice horse. I have a mare related to him as well, so I'm hoping he gets some black type. But as far as betting goes, I would be steering clear of it myself personally now at the moment. I'd be letting the judges step in and make their shouts.
That's you, Tony.
I thought I gave my opinion.
And you did, and you did it beautifully as well.
They don't believe me.
No. Okay, we are inside the final quarter mile then now with a Guinness Handicap Chase, race 7, 2.5 miles and 100 grander as well, Tony. Good race.
Yeah, very competitive. Sizing Granite won the race 2 years ago. He's back, having finished second at Adair last time out. Interesting horse in the race, Class Conti of Willie Mullins. Showed promise in France a few years ago, and had his first start for Willie in Tremor there a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely hosed in. Now this will be more competitive, but it's quite possible that he's sort of reasonably well handicapped. Oscar Knight, 3rd in the race last year. I wouldn't rule him out of the equation, but maybe Class Conti could be a cut above these, and maybe a bit ahead of the handicapper.
Okay. Tom, the British have turned up in this race with 3 of the 13 runners, Henderson, Tizard and Hobbs. Their teams all represented. Do you like one of those 3?
No, I like a horse trained in Wexford called Fitzhenry, named after a very famous Wexford hurler as well, Damien Fitzhenry. Mark Walsh is booked to ride, and he finished 4th in the national trial here the last day and ran a very good 3rd behind a very well handicapped Overniat, who absolutely bolted up in the Paddy Power Christmas. So I think Fitzhenry could be very interesting here.
Does the hurler do it for you?
Yeah, he was a goalkeeper as well. Very good goalkeeper, yeah. I think the best handicapped horse in the race, possibly by a considerable margin, is Warsound, but just his jumping has gone a little bit astray. Like I don't think Cheltenham suits him for starters, and his 2 runs at Cheltenham, I thought he jumped deplorably in that December Gold Cup. He was very impressive on his first start of the season at Aintree, and maybe he just needs to be fresh. He comes here fresh off a mark of 138. I'd have no hesitation saying he's a high 140s horse, but just his jumping around here will be put to the test, and for that reason I'm just going to side with Plastic Coleman, who likes it here, needs to go right-handed, has a tongue strap and blinkers on, He hasn't ran for 121 days, so I'd imagine he's been kept fresh for this. Nice low weight. Robert Tyner loves this meeting, and he'll have him spot on. So just about Blasted Coleman over Warsound for me.
Okay, and DJ, we'll carry on with you then for the final race, the Weatherby's sponsored Mares Bumper Grade 3 contest. Plenty of options here.
This is a cracker. This really is. Now, this is the best ever renewal of this race, genuinely, right? You've got Gypsy Island, who was spectacular last time at Fairyhouse. Then you go to Manila Melody, who obviously was a hot favourite for the Aintree Bumper. And you've got so many unexposed types in the race. Like, it really, really is a top-class race. But the one I'm going to side with, and I know the jockey is struggling a little bit in these races, but Daylight Katie, to me, I thought if things went a bit better at Aintree, I thought she might have even won the race. I thought she just got caught in the wrong position turning for home. I thought it was a sign of a really top-class filly that she was able to make up the ground she did in the centre of the track away from the action. She was keeping on really strongly there. Look, David Dunstan owns the horse. He's entitled to ride her. I'm delighted for him, and he's dead right. But I think it's going to be factored too much into the price that he's riding her. Okay. I think she's a really good filly. I think she's going to get better. She's going to get the fast pace she needs here. And I think she could be very good, so I'm going to go for Daylight Katie to turn around the form with Manila Melody. Tony?
I'm going with Gypsy Island. 2 from 2, hacked up last time at Fairyhouse, won by 11 lengths. Derek O'Connor rides, and it is very competitive. Manila Melody, obvious chance. Gordon Elliott's mare as well. But I think Gypsy Island is pretty decent, and I think she'll make it 3 from 3.
Okay, and Tom, we wrap up with yourself.
Yeah, I think Gypsy Island is probably going to be the best bumper horse to run in Punchestown this week. I think she's a very, very good mare. But just to DJ's point about how good this race is, it's absolutely fantastic. And it's things like the National Hunt Mares bonus and things like that for breeders and for the whole industry. It's very, very important that these races happen. And look how good they are when mares stay in training. So buy your mare at the sales the next time you're there.
You might have read my column on Monday, right? All about that.
Have you got one for sale?
I have a few of them, Tony.
Well, that's rather spoiled the what seemed like a very sort of principled statement there by Tom, but never mind. We will end with your best bets on day 2. Who wants to go first? Tony O'Hare.
I never thought I'd say this, but I'm going to stick with Paloma Blue in the 4:55, the Louis Fitzgerald Hotel Hurl.
Okay, Paloma Blue for Tony and Dave.
I have said that sentence so many times in the postcast. My nap of the day is Paloma Blue. I've said that so many times.
Do you want to say it again?
No, I definitely don't. No, I really do hope he wins for Tony, and I hope he wins because he's a horse I've been a big fan of from the very start. But my nap of the day is Beacon Edge in the 6:40, the Racing Post app champion bumper for the Cunningham Cup.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Beacon Edge.
Fitzhenry in the 7:10 for me.
Fitzhenry in the 7:10 for Tom. That then wraps up our preview of day 2. Paul Keeley will join us here for our preview of day 3. Until then, enjoy your Punchestown Fair.
Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.